Hello and welcome to another live stream edition of the John Keim Report. Do me a favor, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube now or later, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can always read my work on ESPN.com. And you see Bram Weinstein here, the voice of the Commanders. You can hear his work on Sundays, as we now know very well, because you keep going viral, Bram. Why don't we, before we get this show going, why don't we play a little clip of maybe some of your most fun work?
Oh, you want to see it? You want to hear it?
So Let's hear it.
I know everybody's heard it 8 million times, but I got a feeling this one's never getting old, right? It's a first. It's never really getting old. All right, so give me a sec here. Here we go. All right, you want to hear it? Let's hear it. All right.
Steps away from the defenders, gives himself some time. Now steps up, fires, heads towards the end zone. It is
Whoa! You talk about a ball goal. That's like a grand slam in the ninth inning of a World Series. Yes, go, baby!
The ball popped up in the air, right into the arms of Noah Brown. Jayden Daniels extended the play over and over and over.
All right, there you go.
How about that? What? All right, first of all, the moment was incredible for anybody who was in that stadium. As a play-by-play voice, what was that like for you to call that? And do you, when you're, well, just what was it like?
It's first off, it's a once in a lifetime experience, and it's like in reality once in a lifetime experience because the Commanders had never done that before. Like at least since 1970, it's never happened. It was funny after it was all over, we like looked at each other and we're like, has this ever happened before? Because we just couldn't think of anything like that. And as it turns out, Elias puts out a note and says they haven't. So that's amazing. You know, I dreamt of doing this job when I was a kid, John. And, you know, I never, because these things are so rare, you never really think you'll get an opportunity to do something like that. And it's just amazing that I did. And I'm kind of awestruck by it. It was a bit of an out-of-body experience. It was funny when I went down from the booth to the locker room where, you know, the media is waiting to get in because they have the cooling off period. Someone asked me, what did I say on the call? And I go, I don't remember. And like when I watched the video and London almost pushes me out of the booth, I don't remember that happening. I don't remember the dance he made. I don't remember him grabbing me there. Like it was like the movie The Hangover. Like I was out of my body. Like I didn't know. And, you know, I'm very proud of it. Obviously, like it's so cool to have been part of something like that. This season has been so special. And I can't wait to see what they do next because it's 6-2. You know, we got other dreams of things I want to call that we want to be a part of. And this team is trending, maybe, you know, this year, maybe not this year, but trending in a direction where we get to call things like Super Bowls. And that would be a dream come true if that were to happen.
What's it like the next day? Like, when do you start to, you know, first of all, did you go back, when you went back and listened to it, what do you think? Like when you listen to yourself do that?
That's a hard question for me to answer because I'm very critical of myself, you know, but I liked it. And I thought I let everyone else decide for me if they thought it was good. But like for me, I've allowed myself to just be myself in the moment. Like I prepare very hard to do these games. I mean, I'm getting ready for the Giants game now, John. Like I'm already ahead of the curve, and it's a week-long process. And then, so I just do all this work so that I can just be in the moment when we play. And so my instincts just take over, and that's just my personality. And so I'm very, you know, if I'm embarrassed of myself, you know, like how would that be the right answer? So I'm very proud of it. And obviously I've gotten a lot of really great reaction from a lot of people. It went crazy all over the place. Obviously, it's the play of the year in the NFL. Right. And it went crazy everywhere. And so the last, 24, 48 hours has been something I'm not accustomed to. I love my job. I do believe I'm good at it. I love doing it. I want to do it forever if they'll let me. But like, man, like I never, ever expected a call of mine to do what's happened here, which is it's been circulated so much. I've gotten so much attention. My mind is, I've been pulled in 8 million directions the last couple of days, but it's been awesome. And, honestly, like I love that people love this because that really validates what I do. And I love doing this, but obviously it's about what the team did. The whole, like this is all about what they did on the field. And I'm sitting shotgun for it. That's all.
Well, and it's funny because I think the excitement obviously is over the play, right? But if they make that play to be 3-5, it's a different. I just think it's, and somebody said this here, like on the comment boards about this being a special team. And when you do things like this, I just think that excitement grows not just because of the final play, but because of who they have and what else they've been doing. And you know what I mean? Like you start to wonder, like, what else is going on here?
I agree. But I felt this way for weeks, John. Really, after the Cincinnati game, I went, wait a minute. I'm like, what's going on here? Because after the Cincinnati game, I was like, something's going on here. I described that as it's the beginning. We're at the beginning of something.
I agree.
And then after they bounced, off of that, I'm like, how are they going to handle a win like this and getting all this shine and all this attention? Because they went viral. Like our call, that one went viral, but they went really viral. They as a team went viral. And then I'm like, well, how are they going to handle a big win? You saw it, like what they did in Arizona. Then when they lost to Baltimore, how are they going to handle a big loss? You saw how they did that too. Now they do this. This one's got, I think even Dan Quinn was willing to admit, because he's like, I don't want to, go on the roller coaster, stay off the roller coaster. Even he admitted on Monday, I want to take a minute to take this in. Like he was willing to acknowledge this was different. It was really special. It's a once in a life experience. This may never happen again. It was incredible to be a part of it. We should enjoy all of this. And then we can get to the Giants. So for the first time, I think they were able to do that.
And it's funny because I was talking with somebody over there today about this, so I'm going to back up 1 second. So obviously, I went to Ohio State, as did Terry McLaurin, as people know. So when he got here in 2019, I'm like, I waited till I got to know him a little bit. Then I went up to him one time and said, how the hell did you guys lose to Iowa the previous year? Because they went in there, they were a top team, they could get to the playoffs. Like, how the hell did you guys lose to that team? Well, the week before, they had beaten Penn State in this incredible rally in Columbus. And it led to an incredible scene afterwards, just like a last minute touchdown pass by JT Barrett, everything historic or heroic and all that. And he said, we were still talking about that game on Wednesday and that never happened. So in other words, like they didn't turn the page until later in the week. And that's rare. The difference here, first of all, they're grown men now, but also I think going back to Dan Quinn, I think he's been really good this year about this game happened Sunday. What do you learn from it? What do you move on? And you heard a number of players saying like, hey, there was still stuff we got to clean up. You got to do this, you got to do that. And I think those are all good things to move because you don't want this to be the highlight of the season. And I think you would think that it could push you also. If you're younger, maybe you're not like this because you get caught up in it. But if you're older and you're a pro, it should push you to like, hey, this thing's really good here. What you've been doing, keep doing it, do it right away. Don't just live in that moment, move forward. And I think this is a mature team starting with Dan Quinn as far as doing that it would get them to a good spot and not just living in that game.
100%. Like I've liked what they've said all along. I appreciated that Quinn was able to smell the roses on this one a little bit because it was so special. I mean, it was so special that it happened. It had never happened before. It's with this kid again. We got a very special player playing quarterback for them. Good things happen to them. We can go through all the things that the Bears did wrong on that play. I mean, it's insane how many things they did wrong and allowed for this to happen. I still believe the right team won the game anyway. I know it, like, obviously you're kind of, snatching victory there, but like, if you watched this game, they dominated for 3.5 quarters. I mean, it's just, it was actually a little ridiculous that it was even that close, but it was, and they pulled this off. And for whoever, I remember Doug asked, like, was this the best play there? Of course it was. Like name another play that has occurred in that stadium that is even the only thing I can think of is Heineke's dive for the pylon in the playoffs.
Sean
Nobody
Taylor
was there. Nobody was there. I was one of 100 people that were there that saw that.
Right. Sean Taylor's the block field goal return against the Cowboys. That's a one. But it's funny because I was talking to someone else. I'm like, it's not long before you get to most memorable plays at FedEx before you're talking about Gus Frerott's headbutt in that first year. That's how few plays are memorable there. Like Roberts' run against the Vikings to me was a big time moment. And beating the Cowboys there and the interception at the end of the game or near the end of the game was a big time moment because of what it meant for the division title, et cetera. But you don't have a lot, like to me, Clinton Portis's first run in the Gibbs era, the touchdown. But those are all like everything of those is after this. Like you can't top that.
No,
because of who threw it.
Yes. It just because it's happening in this season. Like, let's just say it happened last year. Like, it would have been really cool that it happened. But on a 4-13 team, what is it? It's just this great moment.
Correct.
Like, this feels like another marker in the where are we going with this? And I think that's the part of this that's even better about it. Like, this remains a tipping point of what this team can do. It's really awesome. And, again, like, I just want to thank everybody for all the kind words, and I saw it everywhere. They even stopped election coverage on CNN for a minute, like yesterday, to play that call. My wife was like, you were just on CNN. And I'm like, wow. So this thing went everywhere. I'm really proud of the work our team does covering these games. Obviously, you hear from me every week here. I deeply care for this organization. I'm living a kid's dream by calling these games. Now that they're doing this type of stuff, it's beyond imagination. And it's my goal to excel at this on behalf of our franchise and our fan base because they deserve it. Like, I've lived this. I know what it's like when it's good around here. I feel like we're heading back in that direction again. And our fan base deserves the best broadcast they can get that is full of the type of emotion that I know we all feel about this kind of return back to a place where they're going to be hopefully consistently competitive and more than that. And I can't wait to be part of that ride.
Right. And I think like in we've talked about this before, but in the summertime before the season, I kept saying like, I really like what the approach to the long-term success. I think they are absolutely setting themselves up to have long-term success, but you didn't know what it would look like in the short term because there were a lot of things you still didn't know. Like how good would Daniels be? Well, you knew he would be good. Like the confidence in him in that building was off the charts, like before the season. It's amazing the stuff you hear from people. Like they absolutely knew he would be good after they've been working with him, but you don't know how, like, what's the offense going to look like? How quickly would it all come together? And that's the part that's always hard to answer, but I've always liked the long-term approach. And I don't think they're going to, I know we've talked about the trade deadline stuff, and I don't think they're going to stray from that long-term approach. Like could I see a deal? Yeah, but it's going to be for, like, I would be surprised if it were something like some big swing, but maybe you get a guy for a 6th or 7th pick who can help you. Like we've seen other teams do that. Like with that shot, no. And that Adam Peters is working the phones all the time because that's what GMs do. But but this thing is set up for long-term success, and just the way they're building it. And I think the other thing, Bram, too, I'm diverting a little bit, but someone's asking here, like, is Pittsburgh the next measuring stick game? I think we need to quit asking that because every game is a measuring stick for this league. Like, to me, this Sunday is a measuring stick game because how do you handle a game like that, the week, that play and what it's led to around here? How do you handle that? Going on the road to play a team that's 2-6 now? That's a measuring stick game because you want to test the maturity of a team. It's every freaking week. And every week, the Browns were a measuring stick game. The Ravens were, the Panthers were, because you're coming off a tough loss. Like every game is. So it's not a couple. This is not college. This is, you know what I mean? So like, it's not like that. Every game, every week, to me, it measures something about you.
100%. Like, there's no easy wins here. Go ask the Ravens who just lost to the Browns. Go ask Miami who got Tua back and lost at home to the Cardinals. I mean, like, every week is going to be tough. Giants went up to Seattle and scored more points that week than they have in the 3 weeks since combined. So you just kind of never know. We also know that, like, this team has had an incredible record against Washington. Now, granted, like, those are the old days, obviously. Like I think whenever I heard even early in the season when people talked about like, you know what this team does, or like, this is not how it is, or like, you can't buy into any of this stuff, and you know the other shoe's going to drop. I love that question from Liam from Washington Times, who said people are waiting for the other shoe to drop, and Dan Quinn was like, I wasn't here. Actually, none of us were, and you can feel that now, but until proven otherwise, it's the same old, same old. I mean, I'm sure there are people up in New York right now talking about the New York Jets going, it doesn't matter how many great players we have. It doesn't matter that we have this quarterback. Apparently, we're still the Jets. So until it all really changes, but so much is different that the building is so different. There's all these little things that are different too. They did this really, I didn't even know they were going to do this. In the middle of the third quarter, they did like a blackout in the stadium and had this light show created for a defensive series. I didn't even know they did that, which was another sign of the amount of investment that's not cheap. Like the ownership group okayed a light show to happen in the middle of the stadium that I've never seen before, that they hadn't pulled out yet because they hadn't played a night game yet, right? Or they hadn't played anything at night. Like, everything is different. I mean, literally everything is different. And, when it comes to measuring sticks, I agree with you. They all are. And as far as Pittsburgh goes, let's get through the Giants first.
Yeah, no, because if you're using that, like, then you're not looking at the right game, because you want to go into that game 7-2. And by the way, Todd mentioned here about Rob Jackson picking off at the end of that Dallas game in 2012. Yes, that was him. And then someone else talking about
it was off the blocked kick. Troy Vincent had a blocked kick, and Sean Vincent.
Right. No. But he's talking about, like, what Todd was talking about was in the 2012 game to win the division. That was Rob Jackson, and Sean Taylor was a different one. And then someone else asked about like Brunel the Moss TDs. That was in Dallas, not in FedEx.
Was in Dallas. The Moss T. I mean, this is just a Jacksonville game early in the season, but the Moss TD in overtime to walk-off game winner. That was a great moment.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pick a game like that, you like that game. I mean, comes up a lot is for like a full game that was an amazing moment. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, there aren't a lot of choices, man. It's been a dry run at Northwest. But you know what? This is said, like, it went from FedEx where they could deliver to now they're finally headed in the right direction. That's Northwest. So there you go, Bram. How's that?
I think let's do it.
Already.
All right, you want to talk about some other parts of the game?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, here's the other thing. Like, so I want to stick on Jayden though, because it's funny and I talked about this on the podcast when I did my game review, but watching it after the game, it's like, oh, well, it's 21 for 38. Then I watched the game again. I'm like, he was really good. And,
Jayden, outstanding.
Yeah, he was really good. And playing with that rib injury, it's not easy. Like, to throw that far with a rib injury is difficult, because that's a core thing, right? That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And, and so I was really impressed. And to be honest, I thought, he was the best quarterback on the field. I don't think anybody doubts that.
That wasn't close. But I mean, like, I do believe, I just want to say this because, as a local, like, I'm really rooting for Caleb to have a great career, because he's one of us, and I really hope that he does. Not when he plays us, and I think he will. Like, he looks like a rookie. Our guy doesn't. So by comparison, it looks like he's behind, but he looks like most rookies look, and they're missing some things. I was talking to you last week, and I was talking on my show about this. I'm like, they got these three great receivers. They have no downfield passing game right now. And that's a lack of timing. That's him improvising a lot. That might be offensive coordinator stuff. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Like, our guy doesn't have an Achilles heel yet. We haven't seen it. And I thought with this one, obviously, he showed his toughness, competitiveness by playing it all, because he didn't have to. The team was not forcing him to. Two, again, and this happens over and over, and you can just use this last 19 seconds or whatever it was as the epitome of it. Cool, calm, collected. Nothing rattles him. Nothing's too big for him. He's on top of everything. He knew to throw that out to Terry McLaurin, which gave him a chance to have a Hail Mary opportunity. He knew to do that with 4 seconds left. He scrambled around for 12 seconds. There's some crazy next-gen stat thing that it's like the longest pass air yard wise ever completed while holding the ball that long before throwing it ever. Forget a Hail Mary, any pass ever. Like, nothing seems to rattle him. There were 2 occasions, again, he's hurt. He's juking guys inside to go outside to get to the sticks when he has to run. He just has a feel for the game that is so beyond his years that it is just incredible to watch. It's incredible to watch. He is having, I will reiterate this, and you can disagree if you want, name a rookie quarterback who has had a better first season than him ever.
CJ, I tell you, CJ Stroud had a really good year last year. You can't forget last year.
He was terrific last year. This
CJ Stroud
guy is what, and we will see if Jayden breaks them. Right? Yeah, remember in the offseason, what did he say? He said, that's the numbers I'm looking at.
No, I know
those are the numbers I'm looking at.
The only thing I will say is like CJ Stroud was really good last year and had a really good rookie year. And you can't,
he was outstanding.
Yes. I mean, so yes. I think there's definitely there are different quarterbacks, and I'm not, obviously I like him because he was at Ohio State, but just as an NFL guy, like he was really, really good. I will say, I don't think I've never for a minute felt like it would be too big for Jayden Daniels. Like once you're around him, you just see like this kid's going to be good. And my Buckeye show him, but so is my NFL knowledge. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, look at CJ Stroud's numbers last year. My point is you can't just say he's the best ever in the rookie because this guy was really good last year. Like that's a fact.
I 100% agree with you. I'm just saying at this point, I have yet to see a rookie quarterback have a season like this. I've yet to see
he's a different quarterback too.
Like for the game is otherworldly. Well, it is.
And I mean, listen, some of the throws, he's had 4 touchdown passes that had a less than 30% chance for success. 4. That's like, and I think that's by far the most this year of anybody. That's, and I always talk about this, like he has this pinpoint accuracy in games in those moments. And then you put him on the field. Bram, we watch them every Friday try to throw that ball into the garbage can from like 30 yards away or whatever it is. All the quarterbacks, the quarterback coaches, I don't think I've ever seen Jayden Daniels hit the garbage can. Like Blau gets it in there and Brian Johnson will get in there. Sometimes one of the other quarterbacks. I never seen him. You put him in a game, that dude is going to be money.
The other thing I'm praying for, I hope that Albert Breer reporting that Ben Johnson wants the Bears job or wanted the Bears job is actually true because, that would be full circle. If he took that job and moving forward, these two teams are playing one another. That would just be mwah. Like, please give me that one.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting. And it's funny because even going back to that, and this is one of the things that my reporting at that time was always that Dan Quinn was high on their list. And my reporting at that time was talking to every single person I talked to. And it's like a couple dozen people who worked for him, who played for him, who coached with him, who knew him very well, all said the same thing. And like, I know a lot of people wanted Ben Johnson because he was the hot name. We have no clue what Ben Johnson would be like as a head coach. I could almost guarantee there's no chance he gets the same kind of staff. None. Because you'd be a rookie head coach. You haven't been around the league as long as he had, blah, blah, blah. So it'd be now he may be really good, but we don't know. So that's not to open up that whole can, but I think it was funny at the time. And I was kind of ranting about this to my wife. Like there was a lot of lazy reporting and narratives that formed over that whole period. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are saying like, well, maybe they made a pretty good choice. And I think there are a lot of people felt like that.
Jonathan posted, Jayden's been great, but you might want to go back and look at what Dan Marino did. 5,000 yards, 48 TDs in 1983 when it was hard to throw the ball. I agree with you. His rookie season at 1983, he started 9 games of the 11. He completed 58% of his throws for 2,200 yards. So the 48 touchdown season came in his second year. So just for, to be factual about it, but I agree with you. That's an incredible number anyway. 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions at that point in time. Yes. And Dan Marino, obviously one of the greatest passers of all time, Hall of Fame player. But just to be factual for you, that 5,000 yard season wasn't his rookie season anyway.
Right. I mean, it's hard to do. Here's the other thing. What I think the hard thing to quantify with Jayden is just what he's meant to the franchise, just his presence, right? And I think that's a major thing, the leadership he shows and all that. Like it's the entire package. I mean, we were here for Robert, and it was not received the same way. As a rookie, there were things that still hadn't come to light yet, but like it wasn't the same thing. And with Daniels, it is, but like multi-threat quarterback. But this one, Daniels he's better. I mean, he's a better passer. Like you watch him in the pocket. Like what is it that we've only watched him play 8 games, and I expected him to have a special game Sunday if he played. Because I remember talking to someone like, why? Because it's just who he is. And, the one thing, he's also like really smart with the ball. And I think it's partly why he probably only has 7 touchdown passes, because I think he's really smart with the ball. And I think he's going to become more and more comfortable with it. But even like there was at one time on the screen pass where he throws it in the dirt, like other quarterbacks would have tried to make that throw. And you may have been able to get in there. And if you get in there, it may be a huge play. Do you remember that play? The screen play where he threw it in the dirt? And there was a defensive end there. And I'm like, okay, could he have thrown it? Maybe. But how many times have we seen a guy try to loft it over and the DN just kind of grabs it out of the air?
Yeah.
Live to play another down. I just thought like, could you? Sure. Should you? Smart play. And I just think he makes a lot of smart plays. And that to me is what separates him from a lot. He does not, like when you're watching him, you don't think he's a rookie. You just don't.
They've only turned the ball over 3 times the whole year. They haven't turned the ball over in a month. That's amazing. I mean, just think about that for a second. Now, they've been a little lucky. Like, I don't remember exactly what the number is. It's like 8 or 9 fumbles. They've only lost one of them. So that's a little lucky. And there have been a couple of dropped easy picks along the way here too. But it's still few and far between. And it still would be a very low number of turnovers if that ended up happening. The other thing I want to point out, and I just think it's like Jayden's having an amazing, amazing run. Like he's clearly like MVP of what's going on here. Co-MVP's Dan Quinn, in my opinion. He's got these guys bought in a way that I haven't really seen. You hear a lot about, this chemistry or this thing or that thing. It's real here with this group. I don't know how he did it so fast with a group that's this different, but he has. He's got them bought in. He doesn't have them on the roller coaster. He doesn't have them smelling themselves that often. This is going to be a weird week. I want to see how this one plays because that was unusual and they were everywhere. And I saw a million interviews with a million different people for good reason. So like, I want to see what that looks like here, but just think about the difference on what you saw of 2 teams that are trending up, emerging, got their guy, feeling it, knows that the corner's being turned here. Think about what happened. Like, yes, Washington won on a Hail Mary. It's extremely unusual. Up until that point, for 3.5 quarters, they had really dominated them. After the third quarter, I read, sponsored stat read, third quarter stats, and Caleb Williams was 3 of 11 for 33 yards. I mean, it was ridiculous how they had handled him up to that point. And then think about the rest of the game. When have we had a game where we were asking about some guy who's standing on the goal line waving at the fans instead of defending a play or getting a bunch of personal fouls? He had got one earlier in the game as well. Or a call in a 12-7 game in the fourth quarter where they handed off to a tackle. Or I don't know, how many times in the first half did you watch Chicago line up this odd formation and then let Caleb try to run them out of it and get them in a new play and run down the play clock? And then it failed over and over and over. That team did so many things that were not buttoned up. Karmically, they deserve to lose.
Oh, gosh.
This team isn't acting that way. You know what I mean?
Well, I do, because like one of the things I talked about after the game on the podcast and also yesterday or this morning was exactly that. Like I gave them a lot of credit for being, first of all, Daniels poised, doing all that, but also they did their jobs. They all did their jobs. There was meanwhile, Tariq Stevenson is taunting the fans. And I know he got back in position, but it's still like, it didn't work. So you can't lose your head. And I felt like they lost theirs, regardless if they got back in position. You're not focused on the right things when players are running down the field at you. It was amazing. But I do think and I agree, like Dan Quinn's been really good. I think, you go to Adam Peters and like, who are the guys they brought in? And I think this goes to people listening. And I'm going to say this from now until whenever in free agency, when we get to March, do not only chase the names. That's not what gets you W's. Like it's fit. And they got guys because they knew all these players from all these different places. They all had connections to them. They fit. And fit makes the difference, because we've seen teams that just chase talent or chase names. And I've seen it here and we've seen it other places. And It's not, that's not how you build a winning team. Now you
I
need
mean,
to have talent.
they got the cap room. They may swing for somebody. I would think
I think they will, but I don't think it's
but
just going to be because they're a big name. I think it's because the guy fits. It's got to.
I agree. That's the sense I've gotten. I'm very eager to see what they do by the deadline. You know, like they have a lot of assets. They got a lot of draft picks, especially a lot of low draft picks. So I want to see what they do to try to help bolster the team, because I'm pretty convinced they're going to try to do something to help this team out. They're 6-2, and they got a real shot. These shots only come along because they don't come along all the time. They're not guaranteed. And so I'll be interested to see what happens here.
I will be too. I still I've never gotten the sense that they're going to swing for something really big. And by big, I mean, you're giving up a first, second, third, fourth round pick. Like that would surprise me. You know, nothing's going to shock me. It just would surprise me because it goes against how they've operated. But, you know, getting a low round pick and getting, like we said, there are other guys who've gone for low round picks. And could you get a guy of that caliber that helps you now? But I don't expect them to abandon no, because here's the other, they have a ton of cap room, but you know, they're not going to get any comp picks after last year. So I think they want to keep as many picks as you can, but you can also do some maneuvering with them. So, you know, that none of that would, and again, like they're always working the phones, always. So if you hear someone saying like, oh, they're always on the phone. And it's not just now, like these trade talks happen for a while, right? You know, you talk to teams for a while about various guys because that's your job. So, you know, I think you can feel pretty good about that. And then if they make a move and if it's a rental type guy, it's a low round pick, period. Because you can't.
Yeah. Well, they have 3 7th round picks. 3 7th round picks wouldn't make the team. So I think they have to, like, you know, they're going to use the assets in some way.
Yeah.
I do want to point this out too for the defense, because everything's being made of the Hail Mary, and I get it. I mean, like, you know, it's wild. The pass defense after week 3 ranked 31st. The pass defense now ranks 7th. Okay. Yeah. In 5 weeks, they went from 31st to 7th. They've held their opponents scoreless in the first half in back-to-back games for the first time since 1997. They're getting better. I think they need help on that side of the ball. Yeah, there are a few names I want to point out that I thought were just outstanding in this game. Quan Martin, I'm not surprised because of the aforementioned trouble that the Bears had with a downfield passing game, which is amazing considering the talent that they have. I thought this would be room for him to come up near the line, probably be in run support. He was all over the field. He was great. Bobby Wagner was really felt, had a couple of great rushes in this game, was really felt. And, Johnny Newton, I thought, had his best game by far, not close. And he's also getting more and more opportunities now that they need him to play a lot more.
And he did it moving around the line. I liked him over center. I like how Mathis has been playing too in his role as well. So I agree with it. Bram, to me, they're playing faster. And early in the year, they were not playing like this. And I think, you know, it's funny because like I never thought that they would come out like boom right away and they're going to be top 10, right? That's just a lot to ask. I didn't think they'd be as bad as they were early on. But you also had to give them a minute to, you know, play together. You know, you had some young guys, you had, you know, guys who had not played together. You had a new coordinator. It takes a minute. I also like how the defensive ends are playing. Like they're not studs by like, you know, they're not going to the Pro Bowl, but Dante Fowler's doing a really good job for his role. And I think Dorrance Armstrong does a nice job. Like those guys give you some versatility. They can both rush inside when you need it. And those, you know, third down rush packages. I think that's been a good thing. Farrell had a couple of really nice plays early in that game. So there's a lot that I still like. Listen, we know that they could use more corner help. And but having said that, I like how Sanders still plays. And he plays like, if people saw him, Bram, you know, like he's not a big guy.
No, he plays really physical for his size. Yep.
He plays much big. Like two guys who play much bigger than their size are he and Austin Eckler. Now Eckler is a strong mother, whatever, right? He's a strong dude. He's short, but he's strong. Sanders still does not have that same build, right? But he plays tough and physical. So I think and you want to play tough and physical, you draft players who play that way. And you bring in players who play that way. And that's what they've done. So I don't know what the ceiling is for this defense. They will have games where I'm sure they have some more issues, but since that Baltimore game where they had the communication issues, they haven't had those. Like the plays they got beat on the other day, one was a deep one to DJ Moore for 27 yards. And, you know, that was one where, I thought Quan had a chance to get over there, but they also had a guy coming down in his area, so there were two guys they had to worry about. And then St. Juice got beat on the defensive pass interference, a double move. But it's not a communication thing. You got beat because you didn't handle the double move right. And if he had listened to my 5 things I think on Saturday, he would have heard that the Bears like to run double moves in the red zone. I'm guessing he didn't hear that. So.
Me and you have a lot of advice for this team. If you just listen to our shows, we have all the answers for you.
Listen, the best part of this job, I can tell you exactly what should happen, what might happen before the game and sound like an expert. And then the opposite happens. I can sound like an expert after the game too. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic job. So, or maybe I don't sound like one, but who knows? But yeah, I do like what the defense is doing. And if they continue to play like this team is going to be tough to beat. And
yes.
I don't think,
I'm hoping, this is a hangover week for sure. And it's always tough to sweep anybody. And the Giants have been very competitive, but their offensive line issues and the way Jones is playing, this one screams that there's a couple turnovers coming our way this weekend.
No Kayvon Thibodeau either. No
Kayvon Thibodeau. And we got to do something about Neighbors. They targeted him 18 times first time we played him. I don't think that's going to be the case here. And I'm hoping Jones doesn't have enough time to even get 18 targets out to anybody, because without Andrew Thomas, their offensive line has kind of collapsed here in recent weeks. So let's see how Washington's defense handles that. They've been getting better and better and better, more physical. They're getting to the quarterback. 17 sacks the last 5 games. This stat got me too. They have 7 different players with multiple sacks, which was like second in the NFL. So when everybody asked at the beginning of the season, how are they going to get sacks? Who's there? Crosby, Myles Garrett, whoever you like. They haven't needed that yet, right? They found a way to do all of this. So I'm expecting big day. These are the moments where a guy like Frankie Louvu, Cleveland Farrell, Dortch Armstrong, whoever is lined up over that left side with Andrew Thomas gone, there's going to be opportunities here.
Yeah, and they do a good job with the scheme. I think that's how you generate stuff. We saw what happens when you have the 4 first-round picks, and if they're not doing things schematically, or if they're not good enough, or producing, then you're not going to get it. And I think they do a good job schematically of trying to produce that. I also felt like the other day, Bram, that the coverage was good, and I felt like they did a good job disguising coverages and rotating after the snap, because you saw that a lot. And I felt like they took Caleb Williams' first read away quite a bit, and that comes from coverage, and that gives that line time to do some different things if you're going to play that way. And by the last thing I'm going to talk about here too, and other people have mentioned, you brought it up too with the lights that went out, and just as a funny thing, because in the past, and other people have commented on this here, in the past, people would have thought oh great, they didn't pay the bill, what's going on here? But now it's part of the game day atmosphere. We received a text in the game saying, just so you know, the lights are going to go off. This is a planned thing, because they know it's like somebody would have tweeted out. And 2 weeks ago against Carolina, so we're in the press box here, we're in that corner of the end zone, and there was a cable wire that fell, and you're watching oh no, here we go again. Do you know what happened one play later after the cable fell?
What?
Dante Fowler's pick 6. So did you hear anything about this cable wire falling during the game?
No.
Dante Fowler pick 6. This is a new day, Bram. And I think those two things, now they spent to get that light show done, but still in the past, people would have thought in the past that would have happened only because somebody forgot to pay the bill that week.
Anybody with the team who is in PR that might be watching this, put me on that text list so that I would have known that the lights were going to turn off, because I didn't know that they were going to do that. You might want to tell me that. I'm calling the game. I don't need to be surprised by things like that.
So what do you say when that happens?
Well, it was during a break. So we were in a break. And when we came back, it was obvious what it was. So I came back and I just described this just happened here, but I didn't know it was going to. They didn't tell me that.
Well, yeah, they did. I think because they know that some of the reporters might tweet something like, oh, is it what's going on? So I think they wanted to get, there's some reporters who have a little bit more snark than others. I think they wanted to get ahead of the snark. So that was probably it.
Smart.
Anyways,
they know this group.
They know the group. But this is a new day. And I think we've all seen the reasons why and all that. So anyways, That's it from us, folks. Bram, thanks for joining me as always. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for tuning in. Always appreciate it. I will be back on Thursday morning with another podcast. So tune in then, and thank you, and I'll talk to you next time. Is it? Come on.